Hey friends, welcome to Sunday School for this week. Now, you may remember that this month we've been talking about prayer and how important it is to have ways that you make time and you spend time talking to God and listening to God so that you can have that connection in your relationship. Now, I want to talk today about the different kinds of ways that you can pray. What? You didn't know there were different kinds of ways that you can pray? Oh, sure. There are lots of ways you can pray. You know, obviously some of the ones that you might think of involve like the prayers that we do at church when we all come together and pray there. And you may think about the prayers that you might do when it's mealtime at your house and you're saying grace with your family, or you might do some nighttime prayers. But there are a lot of ways that you can pray that don't necessarily involve you folding your hands up and talking. There are a lot of different approaches that you can take and a lot of different times that can help you keep your prayer connection. So let me share a couple of stories from some friends and the ways that they pray, and they might inspire you to think about the ways that you pray and what might work for you. So I have one friend, and her name is Kara. And Kara is very artistic. She loves to draw and paint and sketch and sculpt and all those wonderful kind of expressive things that you can make with art. But Kara discovered that one thing that she likes to do when she prays is she gets a piece of paper and some pencils or crayons or even paints, and she'll start drawing and doodling as she prays. And she'll keep her pencil or whatever she's using on the paper and just start drawing squiggle lines and just starting to see what kind of picture is just going to happen. And sometimes it's just a bunch of squiggles. But other times when she's praying, something will start to take shape. And as she's painting and she's just letting her fingers flow while she's painting, she starts to have ideas that pop into her head about people that might be in need of prayer or someone that she could help. Sometimes when she's drawing, she'll then start drawing a picture of what she's praying for. So if she's just telling God how awesome he is, she may draw a picture of a beautiful sunset. So for Kara, she uses art as a way to see her prayers and to let those prayers come out and to sort of focus on the time that she's spending talking to and listening to God. Now, I have another friend, and it's somebody that you know very well, Father Brad from the church. And Father Brad spends time in meditation and contemplation as a big part of his prayer life. And what that involves is essentially finding a time and a place where Brad can be still, where he can quiet his mind and stop thinking about all of the things that are going on and all of the things that he has to do. And instead, he stops and he quiets his mind and he tries just to listen, to hear what God is saying. And sometimes he just does that by himself. Other times, a group of people will get together and they may take a little passage from the Bible and they may use that as something to think about and to reflect on while they are spending this time in quiet and in contemplation and prayer. And I know that for Brad and for many people, that's a powerful way of praying and listening to God that really doesn't involve saying any words at all. There are some other friends of mine. I can think of Noah, for example, And for Noah, his big connection in prayer often comes when he is out walking in the woods. See, for Noah, it helps him to pray and to have the time to connect with his spirit and with God when he goes out into the woods, when he surrounds himself with God's creation. Because in seeing the beautiful sky or the trees or listening to the animals, Noah is reminded of how God is in everything. And that gives him a great time and space to let him open up and to talk to God and just to stop and listen and take a break from everything else and just to be in communion with God, to spend time together talking and listening to God in prayer. I also know some people. I have a very good friend, and his name is George. And George is a runner. He's been a runner for a very long time, ever since he was in middle school and was on the track team. And for him, he'll use his time running as his prayer time. And at first, as he's getting started, he'll just try to be quiet and just focus on running and getting his rhythm going. But then he tells me that as he runs, that rhythm starts to settle into his whole body. And in that rhythm, then he finds that that's a good time for him to talk to God, for him to pray and to listen to what the Spirit is telling him about the things that he needs to do in his life. So there are all kinds of different ways to pray, whether it's through art or through nature or through exercise or through quiet meditation and reflection. The important thing for all of my friends and all these examples that I've given you is that people are finding ways that they have great prayer time with God. Now, it's also important to remember that in addition to the way that you do it, it's also important to remember to set the time for you to do it. And it's important to find the time when you can pray. It's important to have reminders that, I need to spend my time praying, and to make it a habit of prayer. I will tell you a little secret that for me, one of the things many, many years ago, when my children were very little and it was hard to have a quiet time in my house, there was one time of day when it was quiet and I was by myself and I could spend time in prayer. And that was during the time I was taking my shower. And so for me, my shower time when I'm getting ready for the day is a great time for me to spend time talking to God, because it's time that I'm by myself. It's time that I can focus on my prayers. And it's a time when I can also really listen to what God is trying to tell me. So as we wrap up this Sunday school unit about prayer, remember that there are all kinds of different ways that you can pray and connect with God. And one of the challenges that we all have is finding the way that works best for us, and then making that part of our daily life and making it a way that we're sure to have time to connect to God. So I encourage you this week to go out and experiment with different kinds of ways to pray. Talk with people that are in your life about how they pray and what their prayer life is like. So maybe you can learn some tips and some ideas from them too. All right. That's all we have time for our lesson today. But if you switch over to the activity video, you will find that today we are in for a great treat, as we're going to be making prayer pizzas and talking about what pizza can teach us about prayer. Sounds pretty interesting. All right. I hope you enjoy that video, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.